Jai Hind. Welcome to your own YouTube channel. Syria's collapse is a cautionary tale of how quickly a nation can descend into chaos. From the initial protest to the current stalemate, there are numerous turning points that have shaped Syrian conflict and what they reveal about the country's troubled past, uncertain present, and even fragile future. Now, this stunning collapse of Syria's Assad regime has sent tremors throughout the Middle East and even to the wider world, launching a new chapter in a great power struggle that has shaped the region for decades. It matters. Why? See, Syria will get partition. I have said this in detail about the same in my previous video as well. I'll share the link of that video in the comment section. Israel will help Kurds to get them back. HTS is expected to have their own nation in the region. They have already had a new flag. So Syria has a new flag. Now it is well understood their foreign policy will also change. The situation in Syria could have significant implications for India, particularly in the region of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, historically, India and Syria, they have maintained a mutually beneficial foreign policy, with India supporting Syria's claim to the Golan Heights and Syria refraining from backing Pakistan on the Kashmir issue. Now, however, with the changing dynamics in Syria, there is quite a possibility that the country's stance on Kashmir issue might shift. This could potentially lead to increased support for Pakistan's claim on Kashmir, which would be detrimental to India's interests. Furthermore, the conflict in Syria has already led to an influx of terrorist groups in the region, which could potentially spill over into Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this would not only worsen the existing security concerns in the region, but also pose a significant threat to India's national security. Even in terms of economic implications, India has significant trade and investment ties with Syria, particularly in the field of oil and gas sector. Any disruptions to these ties could have far-reaching consequences for India's energy and security, economic and even economic growth. Now, overall, the situation in Syria demands close monitoring, and India must be prepared to adapt its foreign policy to mitigate any potential risk on capitalizing the emerging opportunities, because we have not changed our foreign policy with Syria since decades. Now, the culmination of 14 years of war in Syria was accelerated by 14 months of war between Israel and Hamas. Hezbollah and other Iranian-backed proxies allied with Syrian President, the architect of Hamas' October 7 terrorist attack, Yahya Sinwar, envisioned his big project leading to the destruction of Israel by the pro-Iranian axis of resistance. Now, this Russian president, Mr. Putin, a key Assad backer, saw his invasion of Ukraine as a crown jewel in more than a decade of efforts to reclaim Russia's superpower status. Both turned out to be historic miscalculations with no clearer evidence than the astonishing fall of Assad family regime on Sunday that had ruled Syria, father and then son, for 53 years. Now, Assad was doomed by the weakening of his allies, Russia and Iran both. After October 7th, when much of the world was still reeling from the Hamas attack, Iran and its proxies choose to launch a multi-front war against Israel. Biden said in a speech from the White House that it was a historic mistake on Iran's part. The president declared that in his speech. Now, October 7th represented the worst security failure in Israel's history, But in the year since Iran's excess of resistance has suffered a series of jolting blows. Hezbollah, Iran's most armed and trained proxy, lost its charismatic and powerful leader Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike. Hezbollah military infrastructure, it has been significantly degraded. Now, the Lebanese group agreed to a ceasefire with Israel last month under extremely unfavorable terms. Hamas, Israel has bombarded the Gaza Strip for over a year, destroying Hamas military infrastructure and killing Sinwar and countless other top military officials. Iran, what happened in Iran? The Islamic Republic was attacked directly by Israel for the first time and suddenly found itself vulnerable after losing much of its missile production capability and even sophisticated air defense systems. What comes next is deeply uncertain. Now, the direction of any future rebel-led government will be closely watched by US, Russia, Israel, Iran, and many other countries hit by 14 years of war. The dominance of Islamist groups, including former affiliates of al-Qaeda, has left the international community on edge, as well as some minority communities who felt safer under Assad. Now, how will the UAE balance its diplomatic relations with Syria, given the growing dominance of Islamic groups, including former al-Qaeda affiliation and the potential risk to minority communities? Do let us know about your comments in our comment section.